All right, the big story coming in right now are the reactions and counter-reactions from the government, from the opposition parties over what a former CEO of social media site Twitter, Jack Dorsey, has said. And the government, reacting to his comments, have said Twitter was a non-compliance with the Indian law. It was an outright lie that Jack Dorsey is saying. No one was jailed. There was no shutdown, but we are obligated to remove misinformation and fake news. Remember, Jack Dorsey had made a shocking, stunning revelation and a claim that came in from Jack Dorsey saying that the government at the centre, led by, of course, Modi government, that they were threatening Jack Dorsey when he was the CEO to go after the employees if they don't abide by what the government wants, if they don't cut down on critical voices, that they will get the employees raided, get their offices and homes raided. Now remember, the evidence that he's saying there is no evidence that he's putting forth with the claim, but opposition is jumping on this. They're targeting the government at the centre. The Congress party, Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray Sena, has already started to react. The Congress party has said this is the mother of democracy unfiltered. This is what the reality is. And the Congress netas are speaking up. Opposition parties one by one are reacting to it, while the government says, but nobody was jailed, there was no shutdown. But if there is misinformation and fake news, we have every right. So was this a clampdown by the Modi government on Twitter? Or was this in some way that there was a certain narrative that Jack Dorsey was trying to push out? Remember, there's been criticism on Twitter, irrespective of who the CEO is. Is there a certain ideological group that is allowed to fester and flourish while another is shadow banned? Both sides, depending on ideological groups and opposition, come forth and blame the Twitter as a social media site for not allowing their ideological group to speak up. This has been an ongoing tussle on Twitter, but Jack Dorsey says that before he stepped down in 2022, he refers to the farmers' protest of the year. He's saying we were threatened, allegedly by the government at the centre, which is the Modi government in India, that if you do not cut down on critical voices, we will come after you. Listen in now to what Jack Dorsey has said, to which the government has responded and has become a huge political showdown. The opposition jumping and targeting the government at the centre over what Jack Dorsey has said.
India, for example, India is a country that had many requests of us around the farmers' protest, around particular journalists that were critical of the government, and it manifested in ways such as we will shut Twitter down in India, which is a very large market for us. We will raid the homes of your employees, which they did. We will shut down your offices if you don't follow suit. And this is India, a democratic country.
So listen in now to what the Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar has to reply to what Jack Dorsey is saying.
Jack Dorsey was the CEO of Twitter during a very, very dubious period in Twitter's history. What he has said is an outright lie, and I have said that publicly, and I'm reiterating it again. Twitter is a company that believed that it was not necessary for it to comply with Indian law. It believed that it did not have to comply with Indian law and made up its rules as it went along. And the government of India has been very clear from the very beginning, for all companies that operate in India, they have to always comply with India.
This is what the Minister of State for Electronics and Information Technology, Rajiv Chandrasekhar, has to say. He's calling it a tenure which was dubious in nature when Jack Dorsey was the CEO of Twitter. To give you a background, the individual you're looking at on your screen, Jack Dorsey, co-founded the Twitter social media site in 2006. In brief, about 140, 160 characters, you could give your view, you could put forth your narrative, whichever side you belong to. But for the time that he was, there were a lot of algorithm with which a social media site, any application works. Very soon, it was Twitter that became one of the biggest platforms on social media, whether it was for a politician, for an industrialist, for a journalist, for a general citizen, a general public to put forth what they believe. It connected the celebrities to as a messenger to the public as well. There were, remember, a lot of claims and counterclaims that were thrown at each other.
started with 140 characters so we could fit in one. Thunderbiz is from Boston.
There are two parts to this. The first is the Congress party's U-turn from a party that always claimed to be the ones who moved out the foreigners and the British from India, to one who now desperately needs the help of foreigners, including the British and the Europeans and the Americans, as per Rahul Gandhi ji, to interfere in Indian democracy. So therefore, this is the new Congress, which is looking at these kind of involvements, interferences into India. The second is the comment of Jack Dorsey, which is, and Rajiv Chandrasekhar ji, who's the minister, has come on record. So Mr. Dorsey's statement is a bundle of lies. It's a bundle of untruths. It's an agenda. It is not a statement of fact. It also reflects a trend that a set of people who claim to be the great warriors of freedom of speech, the great warriors for freedom and democratic values, are the ones who come up with the most dubious claims. So one wonders whether they are actually politicians in disguise or they are paid lobbyists.
See, this is quite childish on part of the BJP. Jack Dorsey was heading a global corporation which is also operating in India. He was talking about his experience of operating his company in India. And it is very clear, and it only confirms our suspicions, and it's what we've been always saying, that this government is very, very intolerant to voices of dissent. They always want to shut down any opinion which is different from theirs. And Jack Dorsey was only alluding to that. And Jack Dorsey did not give some exclusive interview about India. He was talking about his experiences globally. He alluded to Turkey. He alluded to Russia. So, he put India in the same basket. So, I mean, the minute, if another overseas citizen or a national says that India's economy is growing or this Prime Minister is a great man, the BJP will immediately lap it up. But if somebody criticizes the way this government is functioning, they will immediately be labeled as an agent. I mean, this is quite childish on part of the BJP, and this is their normal tactic.
This is a very serious charge by Jack, and one day truth will come out, as been proved today also. Jack's statements are very clearly, he has made the statements and clearly on those issues like the farmers' protest, which the government tried its best to black out in the mainstream media, black out in the social media. They have been trying to arm twist those people who are supporting that farmers' protest. But it was an organic protest, and for months together people were there in streets in Delhi, in the borders of Delhi. And India Today was also covering that case.